There exists no freedom from me. There is only freedom through me. What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so I wasn't planning on making a video today. I was going to take the day off from YouTube, but I gotta give my 2 cents into this situation. So I'll put my 2 cents into this situation. I'm just gonna come right out and say this. Bania from Seinfeld, aka Whack Attack. It's clear as day now that when you talk about channels, now clearly your video was aimed at Ticket TV, although you were too afraid to say his name. But in general, you talk about Jokic haters, right? And when you read between the lines of how you address Jokic haters, I'm pretty sure you're aware that you have a certain element as far as your fan base. I mean, you've gained 35,000 subscribers in a span of like 6 months. So, you know, you've gone on, say, channels like Jason Whitlock, and we know what type of ideology he pushes and who he caters to. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, exactly who the majority of those 35,000 subscribers are and what they believe in. That insidious ideology that looks down on certain people with a certain hue, so to speak. So when you use negative, stereotypes like talking about people's mental capacity, people being slow. Let me speak very slowly, Jerry, so you can understand what I'm saying. When are you gonna treat me to dinner, Jerry? Ha ha. And when you say if people are lazy, do some work, everybody knows what you're doing, okay, and who you're pandering to. No, people aren't idiots. So I feel compelled to just stick my large Negro nose into this situation here. I just gotta. So first of all, and shout out Ticket TV, I saw his video. He's correct. You're real slick. You say 6-4, but why would you include the game that Jokic played? He played in that game. So they're not 6-4 since Jokic got hurt. They're 6-3. And yeah, they have beaten some bad teams. But as he pointed out, they've beaten some good teams. They've beaten the Boston Celtics. They've beaten the Toronto Raptors. And they've beaten this Philadelphia 76ers team that's vastly improved from the 58 team that they were last year. Matter of fact, Joel Embiid just recently said that his knee feels the best it's felt in 3 years. That's his quote. Okay? So you can't sit there and cherry pick who the Denver Nuggets are playing if a lot of that competition was above 500. Sure, they've beaten some terrible teams. Teams that are so bad that the overall record is being pushed down to sub 500 because of how terrible those three teams are. But you also negate to mention, as Ticket said, that Denver is shorthanded. Not only do they not have Nikola Jokic, who is a great, great player, but they also at times have not had Jamal Murray. They have at times not had Aaron Gordon. At times they haven't had Braun. And at times they haven't had some other guys. You're leaving that out. What's the guy named Cameron Johnson had been out. You know, I think he's still out, if I'm not mistaken. You neglect to mention that. So it's a short-handed ragtag bunch that have gone 6-3 in Jokic's absence. No matter how you want to split it, Bania from Seinfeld, and no, I don't want that suit. It doesn't fit me. Doesn't fit Jerry. Damn sure doesn't fit me. But anyway, the narrative, if you want to put it out there that somehow they're only beating bad teams, it's poppycock. Also, if you want to go there about beating up on bad teams, let's talk about the 2023 Denver Nuggets championship run. In the first round, they beat, I believe it was an AC Timberwolves team. Okay, that's fine. You know, oftentimes the top seeds beat a bad team in the first round. But in the second round, you beat a 4th-seeded Phoenix Suns team led by Kevin Durant, who has not played on a team that's won 50 games since 2019. Then in the conference finals, you play against a Lakers team that was 7th seed. And then in the finals, you play Miami, who was a 10th seed and would have not gotten into the playoffs had it not been for that dag-nabbit play-in tournament crap. As a matter of fact, they were losing to the Bulls before they made that miraculous comeback with like 2 minutes to go in the game. So you played the Denver Nuggets played an 8th seed, a 4th seed, a 7th seed, and a 10th seed. You beat a 10th seed in the finals. But then you said, hey, you can't help who you play. You got to play who's in front of you. So which one is it? When Jokic is beating up on mediocre, inferior competition, he can't help who he play. But when this ragtag bunch of miscreants, you know what I'm saying, this skeleton crew, a.k.a. the Denver Nuggets, are beating teams, they're not beating anybody. That sounds like somebody that's rooting against a team because Jokic isn't playing. And let's go further with this. Let's talk about this a little bit further, because this is what I really want to get at. You want to talk about nobody playing anybody? Let's talk about the fact that Nikola Jokic isn't playing anybody in his fucking position. Let's talk about that one there, meathead. Who is he playing? What great centers are out there? You got Wemby. You got Joel Embiid, who's always breaking down already. Anthony Davis doesn't even want to play center. Giannis is a power forward. Where the fuck is all this great competition at? But yet my guy Wilt, who I think is the greatest center of all time, who is unofficially the all-time leader in block shots, the all-time leader in unofficial triple-doubles, and Jokic has no shot at catching him because Wilt Chamberlain probably had at least 300 triple-doubles in his career. But because blocks weren't counted, and I say at least because that's the conservative estimate, might have been as many as 400 triple-doubles. But because blocks weren't counted when he played, and it conveniently only started counting blocks when Wilt retired, we'll never know. But I do know that Wilt Chamberlain, in a league that only had between 8 to 17 teams when he played against at least 10 to 12 Hall of Fame centers throughout his career. So when it comes to competition, Wilt Chamberlain had Hall of Fame competition like Bill Russell, like Bob Lanier, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like Zebo B before he transitioned to the ABA, like Artis Gilmore, when they played against each other in those ABA NBA games. He actually didn't go to the league yet, but he played against them sparingly. He played against Wes Unseld. He played against Willis Reed. He played against Elvin Hayes, who started off as center when he came into the NBA. He played against Walt Bellamy. He played against a multitude of great Hall of Fame level centers. Where are all the great centers? I mean, hell, if you took, in this era, if you put Luke Longley in this era, I believe Luke Longley would be a borderline all-star. Basic post moves, size, 7'2", 265. Wasn't an outstanding rebounder, but if you give him 32 to 34 minutes of play in this league, you trim him down to about 250 so he can play at this pace, I think he probably would average 19 points. I think he'll give you about 8 to 9 rebounds. I can see Luke being a guy that could probably learn how to shoot threes, because let's not forget, what's his name? That plays for the Clippers now. He used to play for the Bucks. I forget his name right now. New Jersey Nets center back in his prime. You guys know who I'm talking about. Just can't think of his name right now. He couldn't shoot threes for shit. And within 2 or 3 years, he became a 35% three-point shooter. So, yeah, that's just how I feel about it, man. You know, I think that Jokic is a great center, but I think that people like you latch on to him because he makes you feel better about yourself. He makes some other people feel better about themselves. And because you identify with him, you take any perceived slight with the greatest, you react with the greatest aggression, because it's not just basketball for you. He represents more than that, you know? And, and I also think that you're a troll. You talk about other people are trolls, but you're a troll. You've seen that Anthony Edwards gets a lot of praise from Ticket, and now all of a sudden you make videos critiquing him. And, it's also interesting to note that when you critique players like Anthony Edwards, he happens to be a very dark-skinned African-American. And, the darker the berry, the sweeter the hate comes from you guys, But anyway, that's all I got to say about it, man. You do come across as a hateful person who has a very, very insidious agenda at play. That's just how it is. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think. Ta-ta.